Leaning, leaning, leaning on the everlasting arms. Leaning, leaning, leaning on the everlasting arms. Hey, this is the Grace Hour show, and we are talking about the hand and arms of God today. All this week, we have been talking about these human traits that are attributed in the scriptures to God. There's a big word. Well, let me introduce myself first. I'm Pastor Steve Andrulonis with Greater Grace Church in Baltimore. With me today, Jonathan Mikkonen, and he's a Bible college graduate. He's also recently married to an American Romanian, and that's amazing. And he's working through the process of becoming an official citizen of the USA, right? I guess that's going to happen at some point, right? That's the plan.
And the Lord determines the steps.
That's right. That's good. And we are talking today about, like I said, that's why we started with that song, Leaning on the Everlasting Arms. Actually, Sunday night service, the worship team did open our service with that song. So it's a good one to talk about. Okay, so now I'll get to this big word, anthropomorphism. You could say it to yourself as you're listening, watching us on YouTube or Facebook Live, wherever you are. This podcast dives into these kinds of things from the scriptures, so we're going to talk about this. Anthropomorphism is the attribution of human traits, emotions, intentions, or behaviors to sometimes animals. You watch, if you watch Bugs Bunny or any kind of cartoons, the newer cartoons, you know that animals are given. I think there's a new movie out called The Sheep Detective that my granddaughter saw, and she said it was so interesting. A flock of sheep has to solve a murder case involving their shepherd. So that's anthropomorphism, sheep talking and everything like that. Of course, we know that in the garden a serpent talked, and we know from C.S. Lewis's fantasies that animals could have talked at some point in time. But anyway, anthropomorphism is human traits, and human traits God uses, and this idea of hands and arms is our assignment today, Jonathan. And we're talking about that, and we were made in the image of God, and I think these things, attributing our physical characteristics to God, helps us understand who He is and the way that He moves and lives with us. So what say you?
I'm amazed that God is so personal that He wants us to understand His character and who He is. Like He created man His own image, so each part of the body, soul, spirit is an expression of God, made in His image. So there's an imprint, and like we were talking about the hands and the arms, like when I was first thinking about it, it's like what are they representing? So and the first word was an action. So the hands are kind of the conduit of my will and my mind. Like if I want to do something, if I have a thought that I need to grab on things, the arm will follow it and execute it. So I was thinking and God, about the God, His hand is all over. Like it's mentioned over and over in the Bible in a different meanings, and when it comes to God, I was thinking about His attribute of sovereignty. Like He does what He wills, no matter when. Like if he has a plan, if He has an intention, and He has all the authority, all the power doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the way you want to look at these kinds of things. The idea, the arm and the hand of the Lord. When we talk about the voice of God and the Word, He said, "Let there be light," and the Word. We see Genesis 1. He spoke things into being until He got to this place where He was making people. And then it says he formed man out of the dust of the ground. I think that's the first idea that God actually got his hands in the dirt. He made the dirt of the earth, and the dirt of the earth was at that point a wreck and a ruin. It was in chaos, and there's a big discussion about when that happened, how that happened, but I think it is definitely connected to the rebellion of Lucifer in the angelic realm and what the earth became. But God still reached into it and decided to form something in his image from it. So I think that's the first sort of indication in our Bibles that of God reaching literally, physically into our earth and doing something with it. What do you think about that?
Wow. Yeah, I like how you say it, like he forms, he reached out into the world that he created and then formed out of that something that represents himself. And later on, like this creation fell, and I just can't help thinking of like how God had plan of showing his grace and mercy and redemption through the man, and like different characteristic, and like, but when it comes to like his hand, something that's completely formless, or like seemingly formless, seemingly unimportant, he took his hands and formed something that has never been expressed before.
Yeah.
And here's a man.
Yeah. It was the process of creation that we read about. It's like it goes through these days, and then there it is. This being, us, is like, let's see who made it. It's actually, I think it's 2 Corinthians. He's talking about us in clay jars, the treasure in clay jars, 4:7, 2 Corinthians 4:7. And this has been like sort of like a collision between, like, it was the collision that happened in Acts chapter, I think it's 17, when Paul goes to Mars Hill. Is that it? Maybe it's earlier. But he does have this conversation with philosophers, and when they get to the idea of God as a man and God as a resurrected man, that's when they like go off the deep end. They can't comprehend that matter, that clay, that dust, that God putting his hand in it and forming it is even possible, or even like, is a worthy effort. Like, it's like, that's like so beneath God, And, the fact that he expresses his way, like you said, with pieces of our body, his hand and his arms, it's like telling us something that is, it's trying to restore the dignity and the honor and the unashamedness that was there with Adam and Eve at the beginning and lost in the fall. The only reason we think of our hands and our arms as evil things that need to be set aside is because of the fall of man and the decision he made to try and gain the breadth of information that he can't contain, which is what the tree of knowledge of good and evil, I believe, represents. It's like, you don't need to know it all.
Right.
If you know God, you don't need to know it all. Correct?
It's correct. And then I'm thinking about after the fall, man has to labor with his hands, and like then the first the hands have also committed the first murder.
That's true.
And so they are the agents, or like what is in your heart. Like actions happen there, and I mean it's a very polluted image at this point of like what the hands are supposed to do. Because like in the Bible, like when you see different verses, different places, it talks about protection, comfort, but then there's also severity part of God's hand. I think in Jeremiah it says, "My hand is outstretched against you."
Yeah.
So there is the both parts.
Yeah.
So what do you think it's when we get to the arms? What would be a difference between hands and arms?
Well, I think, they're all connected, right?
Yeah.
The hand is at the end of the arm. The arm is the reach. The hand, I would say, is the touch. And it's I think the arm is maybe the big picture. It's like, it's the whole thing. It comes up, you reach, God reaches. And then the hands, we know they're the fingerprints. There was an old Stephen Curtis, 25, 30 years ago, I think it is, this song from Stephen Curtis Chapman called The Fingerprints of God. I can see the fingerprints of God in you. Like, it's like, this is like, when we think of being formed by God, we can see the touch. And, you're a musician, bass player, guitar player. Do you play piano too?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and those are all finger instruments. It's like, well, just about, except for the voice, the voice is like an instrument that God put in us, and he put good ones in some people, and
something to be developed on the others.
Yeah, that's it. That's good. Something that makes joyful noise. It can make joyful noise. Can it make melody and harmony? That's all of it works
and
together.
And then some can just clap their hands.
That's it. That's true. There's another thing,
or not keep the rhythm, but
so I think that you might have this listed in your notes there about like. God revealed his arm of salvation. It's like, that is like he bared his arm. I think that's in Isaiah somewhere. The arm of salvation was something, and I think that's the reach. We without if the hands were just attached to our shoulders, and there is like I guess that there's that evangelist or the speaker, Nick. Have you ever seen him?
Yes.
Begins with a V, and I think he has hands or something kind of. He had a birth defects, and so he doesn't have any legs, and then he has these hands that are just close to his. So he doesn't have very much reach, but he's married. He has children. He's a speaker. He hasn't allowed his whatever it is, the shape of his body to determine his ministry. But I think when God says his arms, we know that. There was a song here written by Josh Sleva, who went home to be with the Lord, I think 20, 30, 25 years ago, son of Pastor Tom Sleva. But he wrote a really great song called With His Arms Wide Open. And it's like, so we know the reach of God, and, let's do something anamorphic, if we can, which is like when Jesus said, in I think it's Luke 19, I wanted to come and gather the people of Jerusalem under, like a hen gathers under the wings. Like, so this is like these images that God puts in front of us, like they're very, there's something that we can get our hands on. We can hold, we could hold a hen if we wanted to. It might not stay with us very long, but we can hold a hen.
Yes.
And, and God, like gathering a hen, gathering something under his wings. All of these pictures are designed to give us I think in philosophy and the argument with Paul there, in philosophy and other religions, there's like a detachment from the physical, the material, but God made the material world good, and we are the representatives of that. So as clay jars filled with himself. So.
Yeah, I was reading this morning Isaiah 59:1 that says, "Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened, that it cannot save." And I believe God asked this rhetorical question in the Numbers when they are murmuring about, like, why did you lead us out of Egypt? Why did we come here? And then Moses inquires the Lord, and Lord answers, like, do you think my hand is shortened?
Yeah.
Like you just witnessed, and it talked about also, I think in Psalms, that by his arm he delivered Israel from Egypt.
Yeah, with a mighty arm, he led
With a
them
mighty
out,
arm.
brought them out. Yeah.
So he's asking, like, is this same arm suddenly shortened?
Yeah.
Like, am I not able to reach to you? Like, do you think that I have taken my arm off from you after taking you out from the Egypt?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, when you're talking about the arm, I think the arm, we all know what a muscular arm looks like. We have seen it. Men like to demonstrate it. I guess women do too. There's competitions, bodybuilding competitions. And, why would we, like one of the questions, the guide questions that were provided for us, like, why is it that we would see this image of God and like take comfort and security in it, in his arm and then in his hands?
I would say God's, when you're thinking about arms, there's a strength. But then there's also, in the hands, there can be a tenderness, there can be a comfort. Like you are able to lift somebody up, you are able to comfort, put a hand on somebody, and you are able to tenderly touch, or you can lift up, or you can defend somebody with your arms. They can work as a weapons. They can hold on many things. So I would say God, in God's arms, like if you think about it, simultaneously we're talking about God, creator of all, is simultaneously the most powerful and the most tender force in existence are his arms. And I was thinking about where is it? It's in Isaiah 40, I believe. It talks about God as a shepherd and carrying the lambs.
Yeah.
And like he's not dragging.
That's
the
true.
lamb.
No.
Like he's carrying. Like he's gently carrying the weak. There's a posture, kind of like a total support.
It's around his neck. It's on his shoulders. It's like these are body pictures that are, bodily image pictures that tell us something.
Yeah, and I was thinking like the lamb there isn't contributing in anything of it. Like there is nothing. It's not walking. The lamb is not navigating. His lamb in this picture is entirely dependent on the shepherd and carrying the lamb. And maybe it's a good picture of a comfort. Like some might hear and read this and think about it. It's like, that's a terrifying place to be. Like I have no control over it. But the question is like, where does it come? Like, where do you find this comfort and security? Like, do you know the shepherd?
Yeah.
Do you know his character? Like, do you know, okay, you know that he's all powerful and almighty, but do you know he's also love? And do you know that he is capable of anything, but yet because of his love, he's not choosing to pour the wrath or judgment to those that he loves.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the shepherd. That brings me to, I think, maybe when we think about the security of the hand of God, the great passage to me is the passage in John 10:27. You said my sheep hear my voice.
Yes.
And I know them and they follow me. I give them eternal life and they will never perish. And that's like one thing. So that's, okay, there's the sort of like the spiritual element, the abstract element, but now we get like something that's objective,
tangible,
substantive. Yeah, it says like, and none can pluck them out of my hand. And it's like, so I've taken hold of them. I think that's like a big thing. Like, now we know that Jesus is the Word made flesh. God did speak things into being, but Jesus did take on flesh and bone.
Yes.
And the most significant passage about that, I think, is the Luke 24 passage. When he comes into the room, he just suddenly appears through the locked doors in Luke 24 in the upper room, scared disciples. Some have seen him. They don't believe what the women have told them. 2 other disciples have come back. We just saw him break bread and vanish. And now Jesus said, reach out and handle me. It's like, so we know that happened. Jesus said that none can pluck them. So the disciples, John especially, who used to lean on Jesus's chest so he could get all the details of life that Jesus was talking about, he certainly touched the hand of Jesus. Peter, we know when he was sinking, Jesus reached out his literal, very, very human hand and pulled him to safety when his faith was small. So we know this picture, that hand of Jesus. And then Jesus takes it even further, 29 of John 10, the Father gave the sheep to me, and he is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of my Father's hands. I and the Father are one. This is this is a big theological complexity here,
right.
But it's like really comforting. The sheep know his voice. Once God gets a hold of them, once Jesus gets a hold of them, they can't come out of his hand. And because they're in Jesus' hand, they are also in the Father's hand, because he and the Father are one. It's it's very interesting.
And it talks about the eternal security first and foremost.
Exactly.
And then there's also, it gives a great comfort. Like the security is not in gripping your hands. Yeah, like you're not gripping God in that picture.
Yeah.
But God has a grip on you.
Yeah.
Jesus is gripping you, and then Father's hands. So there's I think there's many Christians living in an anxiety.
Yes.
Because they are measuring their own hold on faith.
That's right.
Their own hold. They are the measure that how I can grab God. But here's another picture, like with the Isaiah. He has a hold on you. He has a grab on you. That's right. And it's not about how I feel, but it's a positional truth. It's a positional reality.
Yeah.
And that's an enclosed position.
I mean, I think it's like a double. It seems like to me like a double meaning. You know, like a double protection. Like you, not only can no one pluck you out of Jesus's hand, but there's the Father's hand too. Now, there's like very interesting. I noticed this one time when I was reading this passage on the virtuous woman. You get to a place where it says, in the King James, it says that she is not afraid for her household when it snows, for all in her household are covered in scarlet. But then in the other translation, it means she's not afraid of her household, for in all of her household are doubly clothed. It's like the scarlet robe is the robe wrapped around your other garment or something like that. And I didn't, you read that and you wonder what scarlet means. And we could say like what that means. Maybe it's like a high, it was like something scarlet probably had to be dyed red, and to dye something red probably was a very expensive kind of process. But I think when I read it in like this other version, the standard version, Christian Standard Version, it says that all of her household is doubly clothed. And I think all of when I look at these verses in John 10, all of the household of God is doubly held by him and the Father. And we can't, he can't let us go, right?
Yeah. Wow. That's so good. Wow. Doubly clothed. Like there's amazing security and comfort. Like in a garden, like man realized like I'm naked. Like there's no covering. There's no, so he hid himself, and then God. I'm thinking about it like he's talking to like a child that is behind a curtain, and he sees the feet, and then God kind of goes around like, where are you?
Yeah.
Like he knows where he is, but like he's kind of waiting for the response, but at the same time, like the same picture is like as soon as they ate from the fruit, realized like, oh, I lost something here.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't like they ate on the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, and suddenly their clothes flew off.
Mm-hmm.
Like it says they were naked and not ashamed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then when the sin entered, they realized like, oh, I'm uncovered here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you mentioned it earlier that there was like hands commit murder. The hands took the fruit and everything like that. We know that these hands were made to cultivate the garden,
yes,
to dress and keep it, but now they are, because of their rebellion, there's this potential to do harm with the hands, and that's a thing. Like working with his hands was not the issue, but now it's going to be sweaty. And now the soil is going to
it's going to be
produce
hard.
Thorns and thistles, which can which tear up your hands. If you do any kind of yard work and you're pulling like kind of weeds out of there, you get little things stuck in you, and sometimes you can miss one, and a week later you see like a little red spot or like either like a little infection like little thing there, like you have to you can get a splint, you miss a splinter, and it's going to remind you that it's there at some point.
Right.
So that's the kind of thing like that. Our hands, we can look at our hands and see like what they were meant for. Now another one of our questions is like some people fear the hand. Now there's a famous Great Awakening sermon in America from the 1600s. That's Jonathan Edwards. He preached this sermon called, actually 1700s, I'm sorry, Great Awakening sermon just before the American Revolution 250 some years ago. But during this awakening period, he preached this sermon that became pretty famous and pretty misrepresented in my mind, because it's called Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. And it's like, you said you went to a baseball game. You went to watch the Orioles on Saturday. They actually won a very nice game last night. They beat the first place team with a late home run and stuff like that. But you went and saw like a very sort of dull performance from the home team. But when you think of like sinners in the hands of an angry God, I think of the pitcher. God is just ready. You read the title of that sermon and you think that he's like just waiting to throw people into hell. But the misrepresentation is that, God is not angry with the sinner, and he is angry with the thing that led them into sin, which is Satan. And the angriness of God is not towards the sinner. His goal is to seek and to save the lost. But it's just the title of the sermon, and the way that it's been. I challenge anyone to listen to that sermon. Like you can get it read to you somewhere if you don't want to read it on the page. But you can see that God is not willing that any man should perish, but that all should come to repentance. So that's the it's the come into the courts. Come into his courts and call upon the name of the Lord and be saved. But we can understand there is like this, and rather than come to God, it seems like there's, the human disposition now is to erase the reality of him somehow. So, and, they just see him as a fearful, angry kind of, corporal punishment dealing kind of person. I don't know. What do you think? That's a lot to unpack there, but I'm just thinking
wow, where do we get, I was just thinking, where do we get the idea that God is in a business of just punishing? Like that God is somehow doing it for his own pleasure.
Yeah.
Because I was reading in Proverbs 3, the other day, and it came back to me today. Proverbs 3:11 and 12 says, "Do not despise the chastening of the Lord, nor detest his correction. For whom Lord loves, he corrects, just as a father the son in whom he delights."
Mm-hmm.
So the delight is there in the same verse as the correction. Like, Father corrects precisely because he delights.
Mm.
It could be said that way. The hand of correction is like we read in Hebrews 12, like in a God's point of view, it's supposed to and will bring the peaceable fruit of righteousness.
Yeah.
And it's not for his pleasure, but we do tend to get the idea that when God is correcting, when God is chastising, and he's somehow mad at me.
Yeah.
And I mean, we do get it. Like, if there's a misrepresentation of God, let's say, you learned from your family that my dad is not all loving. There's a horrible family situations, and you learn, and then you hear that God is your father, and you're like terrified. And you learn a different aspect. You only know God based on your relationship with your father. And I believe God really wants to reframe or redefine him as the father through the scriptures, and even is dealing with the Israel, or Jacob, as he calls both of the names. And Jacob, when he's rebellious, and he's kind of putting his plan for the nation into action through his hand.
Yeah.
Like I believe it says in Jeremiah 21:5, like, I will fight against you with an outstretched hand. It's the same hand.
Yeah.
But instead of for, it's against.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we know that Jacob wrestled with God to the breaking of the day, and then when Jacob would not let him go, God touched his hip, put it out of order, gave him a limp, and sort of left Jacob dependent on God. That was like the correction there, the wrestling with God, which is like, I think this is, people fear the hand of God because men's hands have been used in abuse in many ways. And striking people is one of those things. Cain's, one of the earliest human beings struck down his brother because of his religious comparison that was going on there. And so we know, and that's a matter of the heart, the deceptive heart, the deceitful heart, the angry heart, the raging heart tries to do that. We apply those things to God. And he does stretch out his hand to discipline.
Yes.
And I think a better picture would be like when he talks about the vine and he prunes the vine. I'm thinking when I've watched a gardener prune some things and to get close to the tree, and sometimes there's a very firm grasp on that, and then there's a, getting as close to the trunk or to snip off the dead branch. It's like a very, when God administers his correction, it's always done for the reconstruction or the reconciliation. God is not about locking you up and incarcerating you and putting you in chains. He's released you from those chains of bondage that sin has. And just like this, he's wanting to prune you so you can bring forth more fruit. And the fact that I think it's just a perception that, yes, there have been places where God has allowed his wrath to go. And I think that's a misrepresentation of wrath in people's minds too, because wrath is not like an outburst of anger, a fit
Like
of anger,
yeah.
a very emotional reaction. Now, of course, God has emotions. He's angry with the sinners every day, but then it also says in Ezekiel, he takes no pleasure in the death of the wicked. So it's, I always see wrath as like the circumstances for ignoring truth. Like you read all those things, like in Leviticus, reading through Leviticus in my Bible reading, and you see all these little things. You don't eat this, and then if you have leprosy, do this, and if you if you have human relations a certain way, outside of the order of humanity and creation, and you do something with an animal and everything. It says the animal and the man or the woman should be, because these kinds of things can bring wrath, which is consequences of violating the order. Like I always like to use the example of the Bay Bridge. The Bay Bridge, if you've ever gone across it, has like this big hook when you're going from the west to the east side. And it's like, and why is that? Well, the thing is they wanted to create a right angle for the depth of the channel so the bridges can go under the towers there. But to do that, they had to do this. Now, suppose they had tried to do it another way and just say, no, we just want it to go straight, to be very aesthetically pleasing, and just totally violate the order of making a right angle and not make that giant curve. That curve, to me, is like a terrifying thing to drive on, but you do it, if you have to. But like the law of physics and everything like that could not be violated. And if they violated that order, that channel would not be receptive to the size of the ships there. So,
I like that, violating the order.
Yeah,
like that's where the consequences and the wrath, so to say, comes. And like we're talking about, do we fear the hand of logo? So where does the fear? Like it can be a like terror, fear, or it can be a reverence, because you know that the hand is capable of doing like there's authority, there's a power, there's all the rights of doing, but then he's withholding it.
Yeah.
And like there's a reverence. It's like, okay, I'm in the hands of it's a fearful thing to be in the hands of the Almighty God. Yeah. You have a great respect for the hand that made you, the hand that upholds everything. He got the whole world in his hand.
Yeah.
So he can do whatever he pleases with it.
Yeah.
And so there's a reverence for it. But then you also know the character of the mind and the heart that the hand is connected to.
Yeah.
And I think that is the key there, like which kind of fear there is. Mm-hmm. And I think most of people are only on the side of it where it's like, well, it can crush me any given moment, and I gotta try to work my angle and preserve and do good things and build my reputation before God so he doesn't crush me.
Yeah. I think a great verse in Psalm 119, it says that the earth is full of the mercy of the Lord, which means that, if God allowed the consequences of if God just said, okay, I take my hands off, my arm, I'm going to let my arm be short, and I'm just going to allow the whole world to manage itself, men and women. And, if there wasn't mercy, which means that, God isn't constantly giving people what they deserve. He's actually showing mercy. He's showing restraint. Yes. He's allowing, when it came to the promised land and those tribes, those people groups that were there, that God told the 12 tribes to really execute and get rid of, because he said their iniquity hasn't reached its tipping point yet. It wasn't. It's not the full measure of the iniquity hasn't expressed itself, which is a scary thing. Like, God, you could just do this, and it's like, but there's this capacity that He gave. He formed us. He breathed into us. But there's this capacity of human choice that God has chosen not to violate, and it's something that people wrestle with, because we just say, "Why did God allow this?" And it's like, well, I don't. One time, me and Timothy, my son, when he was younger, we went to amusement park, Hershey Park, and we rode roller coasters like crazy. I think we did like 67 roller coaster rides. Now there's 10 or 12 different coasters, but at the end of the evening when the park empties out, you could like just go from one to another. And so we remember like the last one was like a inverted roller coaster, and it had been like, when we first went on it that day, it was such a thrill, but the last one we couldn't even feel it anymore. And what I'm saying is like, God is not like, He did not gave us human volitions. He didn't like just want like humans just doing things for His. He wanted humans to choose to live for Him instead of like just programming us just to, hey God, hey, just not praise from a thankful heart, but just praise because it's just the way we do it. Like, and then how God got bored like that. Like we got bored with that roller coaster. Those last roller coaster rides were like, okay, there's no thrill here. It's time to go home. It's like 67 rides later. It's like the first couple were like, whoa, take our breath away. Now nothing, so I think like, God created, who are we? Like read Elihu's passages 32 to 37 in Job, and you'll get an explanation. God does as He pleases. He did as He pleases, and it's a big thing. So this last question here, practically in our lives, what does the arm of the Lord represent, Jonathan?
I would say it represents God's active involvement in everything. It's not just passively watching. It's not like some theology,
that's the whole
principles. Like God has taken His hands off, and like, okay, you have free will, and you do everything, and just here, and you do what you do, and then I'll be judging after you die.
Yeah, yeah.
But He's he whom He loves, He chastises, and I love that because it talks about the sonship. And like, because you are in His family, royal family, he uses things, He does things in order to redirect, guide, and keep you safe. Right?
Yeah.
So there's an active involvement.
Yeah. God's
hand is, I think in Deuteronomy, it says 33:27. That uses the word like underneath are the everlasting arms.
Yes.
Like they are underneath, and it's the posture of total support. So there's nothing that can fall underneath. So I like that. So it's an active involvement. And then I was thinking about the other, like right hand. The Bible talks about the right hand of God.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a position, authority, where the status is decided. And Christ is sitting right now in the right hand of God. And He's advocating there. So and we are in His hand.
Yeah.
And in the Father's hand.
Yeah.
It's the position being in a God's hand gives a tremendous security and tremendous relief.
Yeah. And comfort. Yeah. And just knowing that, that He reached into our world.
Yeah.
Totally. And the fact that the hands of Jesus are there. And I think like when John expresses it saying that we will see him as a lamb who was slain, the scars of his hand that he gave willingly to the cross. That's like another thing. We'll have a constant reminder of what it cost God to redeem us and to reconcile us to himself. Well, I think that's our time today, Jonathan. I appreciate you being here with me. And I think take comfort. I think that's the one thing we want to say is like God reaches to us.
And
right?
God's arm is never shortened.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to look at it and a great way to think, and like maybe it changes prayer life.
Yeah.
Thinking about, okay, your hand is never shortened.
Yeah.
It's always there. So
yeah. Our hands are folded in prayer or lifted in prayer, but God is reaching to us in prayer.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, that's the Grace Hour show for today. For Jonathan Mikkonen, I'm Steve Andrulonis, and our engineer today on the technology side is Jehu Vandiver. And we always like to mention him. It's a big part of the whole show. The cameras, all the stuff. Thanks, Jehu. Thank you all for being subscribers to our program. If you haven't subscribed, you can do so. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, other places. We're so thankful. Leave us a good review. Let us know. 5-star rating. That's good. That helps us. And have a great Tuesday, everyone. God bless.